On an announcement like this, it's never a happy moment, but let me just say that I'm certainly pleased to join HPD Chief Acevedo this afternoon, along with Councilmember Martin, to announce an arrest in the senseless shooting death of 8-year-old Damari Atkins that took place on Saturday morning. I think all of us vividly recall getting the news reports of this 8-year-old riding in the back seat with her mom. Shooting occurred, and now Damari is no longer with us, or with her, and no longer with her family. HPD investigators have worked tirelessly to identify the suspect responsible for such a heartless crime, and through the help of the community, a suspect has been identified and arrested. The crime took place in Fort Bend County, and HPD homicide officers are currently working with the Fort Bend District Attorney's Office to have the suspect charged. However, it is the community that needs to be commended. Members of this community came together and spoke up to police so that the suspect responsible for this crime could be identified and arrested. And I'm pleased to make that announcement. Chief Acevedo.
Thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate you being here with us, and obviously your leadership in the last 24 hours has been, I think, for all of us, very comforting, especially with the family of our officers from yesterday, and obviously this family here that we're here to talk about today. I'm proud of the fact that the day that this happened, the Houston Police Department's Homicide Division went to work very diligently and working around the clock to start working leads in this case. And I'm proud to stand here with Mayor Turner, Councilmember Martin, and Captain Dobbins from the Homicide Division to announce an arrest. We are not going to release the name of the suspect at this time. We'll probably release it either later on tomorrow or later on in the next couple of days for one reason and one reason only. We want to make sure that we don't jeopardize the investigation. We still have witnesses out there. We know there's still witnesses that have seen something, heard something, know something, and we want those witnesses, just because there's an arrest, we want them to understand that they still have a moral obligation. When a beautiful little girl is killed in front of her mother, they have a moral obligation to come forward. And so we're not going to release the name because we don't want to taint our investigation. But those witnesses, and you know who you are, you need to please step forward. I want to tell the Latoya, mom of Dimitri, that we stand with you. We're thankful that we've made this arrest, and we're highly confident that here shortly we'll get the word that the charges have actually been filed. The suspect is, I will just tell you, he's a 19-year-old male, and that's all I'm going to say about the suspect. We, again, released more information on him, but I think it was important, the mayor thought it was very important that we get out information to the community that we do have a suspect in custody who we believe is the shooter in this case, because quite frankly, when someone kills an 8-year-old little girl, everybody needs to worry. And so with that, I'll open it up to any questions for the mayor, and then if I need to, I'll turn it over to Captain Dobbins from Homicide.
What was the motive?
That's part of the investigation, and so I can tell you that the victim in this case was not an intended target. She was an innocent victim, and so we're not going to talk about motive of the specifics of the case because, again, we're confident there are other witnesses out there that, you know, you need to listen to your heart, listen to your mind, listen to what your internal moral compass is telling you, and they need to come forward as well.
Did the suspect know someone in the other car? Did they know?
We're not going to talk about the specifics of the investigation other than to say that the actual victim in this case was not targeted, that the mom wasn't targeted. This was an innocent family driving along when they became the unfortunate, by unfortunate happenstance, happened to be in the wrong place when they met this other party. So we're not going to talk about the specifics.
Did the 19-year-old confess to doing that?
We're not going to talk about the specifics of the case.
His charges will be first-degree murder, or just to be
The
clear?
charges are pending, and once the charges are completely signed by the judge, we will release an actual press release so you all can have additional information. We felt very strongly that it was important for the community to know that this suspect is in custody and can no longer harm anyone.
How many other suspects are you looking for?
We have one primary suspect at this time.
And your Por favor, para Telemundo Houston, ¿esto estuvo involucrado algún tipo de pandillas? La gente se
Eso es
pregunta.
parte de la investigación. No sabemos si es en pandillero o no. We don't know if it's gang related or not. And we won't discuss those details at this point because, again, we want to wrap up the investigation. The point of this press conference is for the mayor and I to let the community know what the family already knows or knew this morning, that we had a suspect in custody and that the charges were pending, and hopefully we'll have them signed by the judge as early as the next hour or so.
Are you actively looking for another suspect?
We're actively continuing with the investigation. I can tell you that the person that we believe pulled the trigger, that the evidence will show pulled the trigger in this case, is in custody.
How this has impacted you personally? ¿Cómo le ha impactado a usted personalmente este crimen?
Well, you know, we're all parents. Everybody up here, I think, is a parent. And I happen to have an 8-year-old son. And so, you know, we've got the first daughter that we see that we love. And when you see a young child killed, con una niña de 8 años de edad gets killed, it's heart-wrenching. Y para la comunidad hispana, todos somos papás. Yo tengo un niño de 8 años y eso me dolió mucho sabiendo que una niña de 8 años murió alante de su mamá.
What about
Okay.
the mother's narrative that it was a woman who pulled the trigger?
You know what? We know that witness identification sometimes at night after a traumatic incident like that, we're involved in a crash. There's a lot of things that go into that. I can just tell you that we're highly confident that we have the right suspect in custody and that charges for this murder will be, and the appropriate charges will be announced as soon as we get it signed by the judge.
Was the original crash because of racing?
I'm not going to talk about the specifics of the investigation again because we know there's other people out there that have seen this, and I'm not going to feed a narrative to the public domain necessarily coming from the police department that might taint the investigation. So we're not going to talk any more specifics.
How is this incident brings the whole debate of nonviolence again? Is Houston part of the systemic issue here?
Well, let me not deal with that philosophical conversation. Let me just say what is important from this press conference, and the reason why the announcement is being made is because it's because of the community participation and people in the community stepping up and providing the necessary tips and the necessary leads that there's a person that is now in custody. And as you know, that there have been several other incidents that have happened recently within our city. So I want to emphasize the importance of the community playing a vital role. In the absence of the community stepping up, we would not be where we are today. And so this is to highlight how important the community is in working with law enforcement, that an arrest has been made as it relates to Damari. And we hope even on other matters, police shootings, the 18-year-old who was killed in front of Subway. The community plays a very, very important role. And because of the community's response in helping out with law enforcement, a person now is in custody, charges are pending, and at least the mother, LaToya, knows that the community has stepped up and the city has responded. Okay, that's what's important here, in the absence of the community. So when we say that people providing information is important and can help to solve these crimes in a very expeditious fashion, and it also says that this is not the norm in this city, that what happened to Damari is not acceptable. The other crimes that are taking place in our city, these are not acceptable. And the best way to demonstrate that is for people who know something, who understand that tomorrow it could be their sister or their father or their son or their daughter, by stepping up and working with us, that we can make this community a much safer place in which to live. And that's the importance, the reason why we're before you this afternoon.
Chief, can you talk about the effort of working together with Fort Bend County?
Well, I just want to say, I think Mayor mentioned that the DA's office in Fort Bend has been a great partner, has been there with us from the word go, and they recognize that, you know, from our perspective, it was an important case to try to get going, and I just want to say thank you to actually the DA in Fort Bend and his and the entire team for their partnership and for helping us out. We've been in constant communication with them. And again, you know, people always think about the police department in terms of criminal justice, but there's a cog wheel with many cogs, and the district attorney, whether it's Fort Bend or Harris County or any other district attorney, is a great partner, and they've been tremendous in this case.
Can you say if he was a gang member?
No, we'll talk about that later on, once we wrap up the investigation and we talk to everyone that we're interested in talking to, and everyone that needs to come forward.
Are there any updates in yesterday's shooting that involved the two officers?
Yeah. Let me, I will bring you up to an update. Yesterday when we went to this scene, obviously, there's a lot of things going on. When you were looking for another suspect, we're still looking for another suspect that we believe was involved in the actual series of burglaries. There was about 4 burglaries, as I recall, that occurred in that neighborhood. But that second suspect we don't believe is directly involved in the officer-involved shooting. Obviously, he'd escaped the dragnet before it was set up. But we're confident that we're going to be able to identify and capture the suspect. So again, I told him yesterday that you might as well turn yourself in. It's a lot better when you turn yourself in than when police come knocking on your door or a SWAT team starts, kicking in your door. It's safer for everybody just to turn yourself in. You don't want to be responsible for any happenstance of somebody getting injured or killed as a result of a police operation. So I still urge the family of that second person, and that person knows who they are, to step forward and just turn themselves in. We initially thought that the suspect yesterday that was actually the shooter that engaged our 2 officers inside that small storage shed was a Hispanic. And I can tell you that although I will not identify him by name right now, we will probably in the next couple of days. The suspect is a male black adult, 26 years of age. He has prior convictions, prior charges for residential burglaries, and we've talked about it. And one of the things that I think is important to our mayor and to this community is residential burglaries. We know that every time somebody breaks into a home, we're one step closer to an aggravated assault, sexual assault, or a murder. And this guy, this suspect that will be identified at a later date, had some priors for conduct that, quite frankly, is reckless and puts people in danger. So, but it is a 26-year-old male African American.
Back to Damari Atkins. I know that there was a reward offered from a couple different sources. Was it a Crime Stoppers tip that led to the arrest?
No. Okay.
Chief, in terms of body cameras, can you please tell us what are the changes that you are considering on these body cameras and why?
Are you, which station are you with? Okay. Can I just do that on the side afterwards, real quick? Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah. Thank you also very much.
Chief,
Thank
it's
you.
been a pretty rough week for the community, especially the police department. How is your department doing? How are the officers doing?
They're doing great, and it was, I think we both visited yesterday and today, and I just left a little while ago, and the way the city responded, when you see, your mayor, members of the council, the police chief, assistant chiefs, and then the response of this community has been tremendous. It's just such a blessing. There's some great things going on here, and I think it all starts at the top, right here at City Hall. We're very fortunate that they are serving, and they feel fortunate. They actually expressed this to me, both of them. They feel very fortunate they are serving a community led with a great mayor, I guess a decent police chief. They gave me a high five, so I guess that's a good thing, Mayor. I'm not sure. But they feel blessed to be in Houston, Texas. They feel like this is the right time for them here, and they're just so grateful to have the boss there and to have the boss of the police department, and everybody came together. And so, even when United Airlines starts giving you a free ticket to get your daughter out here, it's just, as many challenges as we have as a community, we know when to get it together. So I don't know if you want to add something to that part, Mayor.
Well, Mayor, we had saw something earlier today. What's the current condition of the officers?
I think, with respect to Officer Munoz, has he been released from the hospital? Do we know?
He should be any minute now, sir.
Officer Munoz should be released from the hospital sometime today. Officer Cadet's condition is stable, and I think from all indication improving, but it's going to be a recovery, long-term recovery for him.
Is he possibly paralyzed?
I think that this situation is continuing to look better, and I think he's where he's getting the very back, and I assure you, getting the very best care. but we're always going to hope for the very, very best. So let's keep praying for him. And he has a very supportive family, and then he has an extended family of 2.3 million Houstonians. So all of us are going to lift him up, and we're going to just pray for the very, very best, okay? So we're going to pray for a full recovery, and let's hope that takes place. Thank you all so very, very
Thank you,
much.
everybody.
Chief,